Bloodstain pattern analysis. Something of great importance. It will help you to figure out the aftermath of the incident being a forensic investigator. So, what is bloodstain pattern analysis? Why it is mandatory to study about bloodstain pattern analysis will be all covered in this session as we proceed. First of all, you must know that bloodstain pattern analysis helps investigator to provide a window into the past to define an history of the incident, that what must have happened, what crime, which type of crime must have taken place. By analyzing the patterns of bloodstain that are found there, physical characteristic of bloodstain pattern help you to define the general nature of event that must have created it, that must be responsible for creation of that pattern. Okay, so analysis of BPA bloodstain pattern help you to examine the shape, size, distribution, location and much more of the bloodstain that we obtain from the crime scene. This is all what is mentioned here. And to know more importance of bloodstain pattern analysis, here is a pictorial representation. First of all, it will help you to figure out the type and the velocity of the weapon which must have been charged on victim. Then the number of blows, possible number of blows can be useful to can be identified via these stains that are found on the surface. Then handedness of the assailant, whether he was left handed or right handed. Then which wound must have been formed first, must have been inflicted first, by looking at the clotting if the body is found. Then the type of injury if the body is found again, and if body is not found, then also we can make a rough estimation, rough analysis about the type of injury that must have been caused to the victim. Position of perpetrator and victim, whether there was presence of some other material, by looking at the void pattern if present, whether the blood stain evidence or refute the witness statement or not. These all things can be figured out by simply making the analysis of blood stain. Here are some types of blood stains that can be observed on the crime scene. First is passive, second is impact, and then we have this transfer blood stain. Passive blood stain, drop, pool, flow. These are the three subtypes of this category. So in drop, a simple blood drop will be obtained from the crime scene, and the number of blood drops may vary. It could either be a single droplet or multiple droplets. Okay. Then we have pool. Blood pool means blood will be present in an entirely large amount. If you have seen the accident crime scene, whether in real life or in television, you must have seen there's a blood pool formed, huge amount of blood. It is mostly due to some injury which are of a huge gravity or serious fatal injuries usually. Then only the blood pool is formed, and the chances of victim survival is often less as compared to that of the blood droplet. Okay. Then blood flow. Blood flows due to the gravity, so blood must be formed in some kind of vertical surfaces like wall, or maybe anything like chart or something, which is where it is possible for blood to flow directly into the ground due to the influence of gravity. In horizontal surfaces like the blood pool, it is not much possible for blood to flow here and there, and it might get stagnant. Okay, so these are the three different forms of the passive blood stains. Then we have this impact pattern, which are large volume pattern in which pressure variant are often less distinct. Simply it could be due to the volume of blood gushing out from the wound, and a pattern like this is formed. Then another pattern is splash. Blood splash is observed when the blood comes in contact with something which has air in it. Like if blood is brought out from the nose, or it comes out from nose, then definitely it will come in contact with air, and something like this is formed. Impression if someone has sprayed the blood, like you spray aerosol spray or spray paint, some of the, spray paint, then some of these patterns like this are formed. Then arterial spurts, as the name suggests, blood must be coming directly from the arterial blood source or your arteries. So these arterial spots are result of blood stain pattern resulting from blood exiting the body under high pressure, or maybe under pressure fluctuation, or it may include both. Okay, so it blood present in artery flow with more pressure. I hope you know that. Then comparison of vein, and a pattern like this will be formed some seesaw like pattern. Then the transfer. Transfer means bringing of something from one place to another. So there is a blood stain pattern that is known as a transfer pattern. And it includes pattern transfer, direct transfer of pattern. Like a hand of perpetrator or victim must be blood soaked, and then the surface came in contact with another surface, exact pattern, look, exact impression of that bloodied hand formed, whereas the shoes containing blood or anything which is in contact with any other substance, it could be paint, blood, water, or powder, anything, then the pattern transfer is formed. But here we are talking about blood stain pattern analysis, which is why we are mainly focused on blood. Then swipe pattern, swipe and wipe. These two are quite confusing terminologies, and students often get confused between two. Okay, so listen to it very carefully. Swipe pattern. Any stain or pattern which is created by transfer of blood from bloodied object. Transfer of blood from bloodied object to another surface by some form. So this form must be in lateral motion. Look, here it is. So this is what we call swipe pattern. The transfer of blood from already bloodied object. Okay, but in wipe this is not the case. Any stain or pattern which is created when an object moves through the pre-existing blood stain, there must be the presence of some blood, and when the product or object moved through this surface, entire pattern disturbed. So any stain or pattern which is created when an object moves through existing blood stain on another surface. Blood stain created when an object moves through existing stain is what we call wipe. I am repeating it again and again because I don't want you guys to get confused. Example, the murderer pulls the body across blood stained floor. So this is the example of wipe pattern. Then smear. Smear stain is what we create in laboratory, rubbing one slide upon another. So this is how the smear stain look. Here is the sign of being rubbed. This is something that is extremely, this is smear, not smear. Fine. Gunshot pattern. Gunshot pattern are useful when you study about ballistics, about firearm wounds. But here just we will study about two terminologies, that is back spatter, front spatter. This is the image of back spatter and this represents the front spatter. Imagine this is the direction of bullet and this is your subject. When bullet hits the target, two kinds of wounds are formed: exit wound, entry wound. The blood that oozes out from the exit wound from here is what we call front spatter, because you will be facing towards the victim, and from in case you have fired, so or okay, not you, the person who fired the bullet is facing the victim, culprit is facing the victim, and when he fired the bullet, his front face would be toward back of the victim. So that is the front spatter with respect to whom? To the one who fired the bullet. And the back spatter, this is back spatter. Why it is termed as back spatter? Because the blood often oozes out and hand of the one who fired the bullet of the culprit. So this is the back spatter. If this is front, then obviously this is gonna be the back with respect to the one who fired. So don't get confused between these two terms. Then the cast off pattern. Imagine a hammer hits the head of a person, and after hitting the hammer, definitely the culprit won't leave hammer at head itself. If they are making consecutive blows, then their hand will move upward, then downward. And if it is a hockey stick or any weapon, you can take of your choice. Then while moving the hammer or the weapon upward for another consecutive hit, there will be some kind of pattern of blood stain form. This is the cast off pattern. When the weapon is swung in the air, then the pattern formed is termed as a cast off pattern. Then the void pattern, very well known and easy to understand type of pattern. Okay, first of all, look at this, the concept that I have explained to you: forward spatter, and this is the back spatter. Fine. Then the void pattern. Void pattern is formed when something is removed from its space. There must be something, there must be a flower vase or anything. So this must have been removed from its place, and the pattern formed is void pattern. It is also called ghosting or shadowing. Fine. An area where continuous bloodstain pattern lacks bloodstain. Void area casts a shadow of the object that is being moved from the space. Then analysis of bloodstain pattern. We have learned enough about the types of bloodstain patterns that are formed on the crime scene. It is time to look how we can analyze these bloodstain patterns. First, this is the parent stain, the major one, and the tails or the rest all other stains associated with parent stain is termed as satellite stain. Then direction of impact. The tail of the droplet or the blood stain points towards the directionality of the impact. Then we have a very common formula that is used for calculation of angle of impact, that is arc sine stain width upon stain length. Simply measure the take the help of ruler and measure the length of this blood stain, and then height or simply this area breadth of the blood stain in order to get the angle of impact. The size of spatter keeps on increasing as soon as the height increases, means this larger pattern indicates that the blood must have fallen down from 7 feet or so, and this 6-inch, which is quite smaller spatter or a droplet, indicate that the blood must have been fallen from a 6-inch or something like that. So these are all the parameters of approximate height that we could guess, or that may be the indication that blood have been fallen from so and so. For an example, this small spatter, small height, long, a large or big size droplet, there are high chances that it must be from far away, from quite a long height. Then the difference in the spatter with velocity means the velocity with which the weapon must have been charged on the body of the victim. Droplet will highly differ depending upon the velocity with which the injury must have been caused to the victim. For an example, here is the case of low velocity impact spatter, means the velocity with which victim was being charged is fairly slow. This is the case of medium velocity, and this is the case of high velocity. Let's look at the differences in all three of them. Here is some like the blood is present in the form of mist, not exactly mist, but the droplets are not fairly larger, which means the velocity must be very hard. There must be a violent stabbing and number of stabbing, that too in a high with a high velocity. Maybe the perpetrator was very aggressive, or that could be some or other psychological reason behind. However, we can make a blind guess or just could figure out what the aftermath would have been. Then here's the medium velocity, not much speedy, not quite slow. Then this is the slow one. So here look at all those droplets and you can figure out the difference between all of them. Then the area of convergence, this is done on the crime scene. This is the area of origin, the area from where the 3D location from which blood spatter have been oriented or originated could be guessed. Look, this is the x-axis, y-axis, z-axis, and this is the area of origin. Origin means from place, a point from where the things must have been originated, would have been produced. So the area containing intersections generated by the lines drawn through the long axis of each of these stains. Each of these stains will be taken as individual, and taking this area of origin into respect, taking this axis into respect, we will draw certain lines. All of these lines will be joined at a particular place, and this indicates the 2D location from where we can figure out the source of blood. You can figure out an approximate source of blood. You cannot just say that okay, this would be, yeah, this should be the source of blood. We can just made an approximate guess via this. So this is it for the day. I hope you have understood the lecture of bloodstain pattern analysis quite well. Okay, so thank you so much and keep watching the lecture.